All
All right,
right.
welcome to another episode of Political Gurus. Today we're going to continue focusing on the controversy. I'm slurring because of a couple of beers. The controversy that has been caused by Trump saying that he wants to, basically saying he wants to seize black cities, put in federal troops or put in National Guard because these cities are cesspools of violence. It sounds very bad for a right-wing president to use that type of word on a black city. He says cesspools of violence, shitholes, and everything. But I live in DC, so you're about to hear me say it. DC is a fucking shithole. In DC, if you piss off a drug dealer, your ass will get shot in the head in daylight and he'll get away with it. Nobody in the city will talk. If you talk and you say, I saw them shoot my brother in the head in DC, black folk will say, don't talk to that motherfucker no more. He a snitch. If you go to the police and say somebody's threatening you, in a black neighborhood, you're a snitch. Now, let's get back to Chicago. Brandon Johnson says he doesn't want Trump to send in National Guards, and hell no. He signed some executive order saying he's going to block it. Trump is now sending in National Guards to deal with the immigration thing, not with the crime. But we know that he's going to kill two birds with one stone. He's also going to deal with the crime. Now, I think Trump is about I think he probably does want to take back the cities in America and make them less crime, but I don't think that's his main objective in doing this. I think it's to make the Democrats look bad, number one. I also think it's to make money off of contracting, because when you send these guards in and everything, it's security. Somebody's getting paid for it. He's probably getting paid for it. But nevertheless, there's a problem, and I welcome him sending national troops into black cities. I wish he would send them into my neighborhood, where at night I look out of the window sometimes and I'm worried when I come home because maybe somebody followed me and they may take my car and my house. I'm not lying because I have paranoia. But I would love to see national troops outside of my house. Whether I don't care what the political reason for it is, I would love it. And in Chicago right now, a lot of black people are saying, please bring them in. The black community is torn. Some say don't bring them in. Some say do. Probably the ones that don't bring them in are probably the drug dealers. But that's a story for another day. Now, here's what's funny. White liberals and rich white people are like, don't bring it in. So do you see what it is? This is liberal politics. Don't bring it in because it makes our party look bad and we hate Trump. So white people can afford to say, don't bring in National Guard because they're not in danger. They're not in danger, and they can play politics. They can say, we don't want federal troops here to work with our police. Can I ask you a question? Do you see anything bad, even if it's a political move, do you see any bad outcomes by having federal and National Guard troops working with police? Do you see any bad outcomes from that? Maybe a few, maybe one or two people. Yeah.
It's the problem with that question. It's a bit more complicated from the way I look at it.
But whatever would be bad, it may be bad in that in the long run, it undermines state power. But what I'm saying is that in general, if you see police and military working together to stop crime, is that bad?
That's again, it's complicated. It's a complicated answer.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not the worst thing that could happen. It's not as bad as individuals living in their homes and stuff, being locked in their homes, cities being shot up and everything. So my thing is that if you don't want these types of measures to be taken in, then before you give Trump a chance to come in and do this bullshit, clean your city. Mayor Brandon Johnson is not cleaning his city. His disapproval rating is 48%. 20% say they have no view. So a majority of Chicagoans say he's doing pathetic. Even within the Democratic Party, his disapproval rating is 38%, and I think his approval rating is 20-something, and then other people are on the fence. He's failing the city. He's not the only one. He's a progressive black liberal politician. That just means he's a progressive white liberal politician. His skin is black, but he's part of this movement of identity movement. People like Hakeem Jeffries, who are fine with getting money from AIPAC, and don't want to stand up for Mandani, who's a socialist and is looking out for free housing and free healthcare for New Yorkers. Or they don't want to support him, but they support people who bomb other people in other countries. Then when Trump says, let's send troops into your city because you're not handling your crime issue, all of a sudden he becomes a civil rights activist. No. Now, here's what I would say. And he's playing with black lives because he keeps saying the same thing. He's saying that the numbers in Chicago have dropped. The numbers in Chicago have dropped because after COVID, the numbers went high all over the country. Then when COVID went out, they dropped. But what it is that it's a drop from a spike. So a drop from a spike is not the same thing as a drop from a baseline. You know what I'm trying to say, Kunle? It's not. So he said it went down by 30%. Yeah, it went down by 30% from a 50% spike. And even if the numbers are low, Chicago last year in what they call their lowest numbers in years was 530. Kunle, how many murders are there? So Chicago has less than 3 million people. How many murders are there in England in a whole year?
About 300. Between 200 and 300 for the whole country.
So you got a fucking black city that has more murders than all of England. New York City, which is basically a white city, has had 300 murders last year with a population of 9 million. And Chicago has less than 3 million and has 370, and you have the nerve to say, oh, well, our numbers are dropped. Your numbers are still unacceptable. Chicago is a hell zone. Last thing I'm going to say, this weekend in Chicago, 54 shootings. You saw the thing I sent you, right? 7 people killed. 54 black men killed. They say, oh, only 7 died. Let me tell you what it means when 54 black men are killed in a city. It means that they now are under trauma because they've almost been killed. Also, they were in a situation where they were involved in things socioeconomically, which means that they are probably killers or in crime and have bad backgrounds. And they're going to have children, and they're going to have children. So what I'm saying is when you see 54 people getting shot by in a city, that means you have tens of thousands of people who are related to them who are also living under stress and in pain. You get what I'm trying to say, Kunle? So 54 people getting killed shows you that it's a miserable neighborhood. Same thing with like when the U.S., when guys come back from war, when a guy comes back from war, he drinks alcohol, he does heroin, beats his children become drug addicts, and it creates a spiral of pain and misery connected to them. So 54 black males getting shot in Chicago over a weekend represents tens of thousands of people who are living in misery. So what I will say is that rather than continually playing political games and getting in the news to fight Trump, don't even focus about Trump. I'm not going to say whether Trump's intervention is right or wrong. Black community and black leaders and the so-called liberal and all these people who are running, these cities are run by Democrats, need to stop worrying about political games with Trump and save our community, our black community. They're not doing it, which is why they're losing elections. What are your thoughts, Kunle?
Yeah, it's very complicated. There's a lot of issues that come up there. The solution is rather Machiavellian, but the result is that generally everybody is safer in the city. A comparison for me, for example, is during the Abacha time. During the Abacha times, the government was oppressive, but there was generally more security in the land. Yeah. And then also it brings up the constitutional issue of the clash between federal laws and constitutional laws. And then it comes to the sovereignty of that state, because these are independent states. And if these independent states decide to resist the abuse of their sovereignties, and then they start looking to break up, which is unthinkable and sounds absurd in American politics, but at the end of the day, always remains a possibility. If the result of this is a clash between federal and state law. It's
already a possibility. In Texas, they will arrest you if you order birth control pills for your daughter from New York, and they'll put you in jail. So they don't listen to. Republican cities tend not to listen to federal laws. Same thing with New York. In New York and Chicago, if you're an illegal immigrant, it's called a sanctuary cities. That means that they enable breaking the U.S. law, which is breaking the U.S. Constitution. So it goes on both sides. So there's already a civil fracture in America where liberal states and Republican states don't respect federal law. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. So those liberals that are actually resisting what's going on in Chicago, they're looking at it from a political position. I don't think they're looking at it from a city position. They are looking at it from a position of this.
And also, they're not looking at it from a human suffering position either. Go ahead.
Well, that's opinion based.
Here's why I say they aren't. They're politicizing rather than spending all of their money on, regardless of Trump, taking care of the crime problem themselves. That's how they're overlooking the human thing, because they're not doing anything to make it better. All they're doing is saying what you want to do is not going to make it better. So in other words, your children is like you want to divorce your wife and your children are hungry, and you and your wife are arguing to see who looks bad in front of the children rather than dealing with it. That means that you're also complicit in the suffering of your children. So what I'm saying is that the Democrats know the answer. When they have guys like Mamdani and they refuse to represent him, that means they don't care about suffering of their people. Because when someone who wants to solve the suffering, they don't support him. But yet they send billions to Israel. but they don't want to sign bills to pump money and infrastructure into black neighborhoods. That means that they don't care about the suffering of black people, and their politicization is making our suffering worse. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but that is representative of both sides of the aisle and the entirety
but I don't care about the other side because
politicians.
I don't care about the other side because I know the Republicans don't like me. I'm focusing on the charlatans, the Democrats. Go ahead.
I'm saying that both sides, anybody that's supported by AIPAC is a charlatan, is playing a game either on one side or the other.
Chuck Schumer says he hates black people and he likes Palestine and he hates Palestinians and he wants to kill them. He's not a charlatan. He's just a psychopath.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is that any of these politicians, regardless of which side of the aisle they are.
What I'm trying to make is that the mayor of, all my point is, I might care about the Republicans. The mayor of Chicago is just talking out of his fucking mouth. He doesn't care about suffering in the black community in Chicago. He was a school teacher, and they gave him a second chance as mayor. He's a school teacher who fucked up the school system. The school systems are fucked up, but whenever they ask him about the school systems are fucked up, he always says, well, crime is down. To say that crime is down in a city in which crime is a big problem just because it's a statistical drop, but there's still a systemic problem and black people can't live well. And even though crime is down, the suffering in those neighborhoods is down, means he's unfit. And I'm not going to listen to him when he attacks Trump. What are your thoughts? Yeah.
I believe he's also AIPAC supported, is he not?
Probably.
This mayor. Yes.
Yeah.
And you see, that's the end of the day for me. Anybody that is AIPAC supported doesn't care two hoots about the American people, regardless of which side of the aisle they are. That's what I'm saying. So some of them are play acting, some of them are pretending to be the bad guys, where some are pretending to be the good guys just to play a game to try to confuse and deceive the American people. But the bigger picture is, and that needs to expand, is that you need to redraw the battle lines, and you need to redraw them along the lines of those who are sponsored by AIPAC and those who aren't. And the issue of Democrats and Republicans is becoming an obsolete battleground line of drawing because they are both on the same side. The lines need to be redrawn to show is either America or Israel that is going to lead this country. That's what I'm saying. So I don't
want to go too far down that path because today we're just focusing on the Trump federal because he wants to send in National Guard this weekend to deal with immigration. So we want to focus on that. So all I'm saying now is that let's move on and say, okay, really, what is the solution to the problem of crime in black neighborhoods and despondency? What do you think the solution is? Yeah.
There are two strands to the solution. The first strand is basically what Trump is trying to do, which is you have to create a state of martial law temporarily and clean up the place and remove those. But then you now have to, having done that and sorted out the law and order, if you do not sustain it with socialist policies, it's like splitting a house that has mosquitoes. The mosquitoes will just come in again the next day. So if you want to keep them out and put your mosquito net is the net of socialist policies to ensure that you can bring wealth. And when you bring wealth into that community, then it automatically reduces the crime rate in that community.
And then there's also corruption because there are people high up in the U.S. government who are linked to the through the CIA to drug cartels, and they don't want drugs to stop coming into America. So as long as drugs start coming into America, a socialist intervention won't help also because it will still lead crime because there'll be black people or Hispanics who are poor who want to sell, that they want to use to sell the drugs. So they'll keep on disrupting those neighborhoods. So I think that crime and profiting off of guns and drugs is why a lot of politicians don't want to pass laws that are socialist. Because if they do that, then they can't continue using black people as the foot soldiers for drugs, which they make money off of. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not only that, but because a lot of this crime and poverty is being cited around that very black population, even if I was a black African, I would actually look at those black Americans as racially inferior criminals. That's how I would see them. And that's the perception. But the reason why they're like that has nothing to do with because they're black Americans and everything to do with the economic situation, because you have equally delinquent societies, regardless of race, creed, or color, all over the world, based on the poverty and based on the circumstances of that region. You know, you can't have that. And that needs to be turned around. And the only way that can be turned around effectively is with heavy financial investment in the right places. And unless and until America decides to have the political will to do that, and also because they are being demonized, it's like a mandate for murder. It's a mandate to say this is the reason why America is suffering, is because of these black people. So you deviate from the actual problem and you name, blame, and name shame another group. And that way you're able to distract from the poor white population that are what the bigger issues are, keep them divided. And they are not able to actually look holistically at the real problem and start trying to solve it, which is inequality, which is all their wealth being used outside of America for the interests of foreign bodies. Also, people being brought into unprofitable wars that do not profit America, make America less safe, make Americans despised around the global south as warmongering hoo-has, and actually makes America less safe. If America was not aligned with Israel, nobody would have any problem with it. But there would be so much safer and so much more.
So you jumped into something. The real cause of black violence in black neighborhoods in America is the intrinsically violent nature of America. People came here, killed off Indians, brought in slaves, killed Indians, wiped out a whole generation of Indians, started the Vietnam War, started all kinds of wars all over the world, make sure that there's no gun control laws so they can make money off of it. So what's happening is that the black community is just a magnification of that. It's actually just a mirror of what America is, but America has displaced it to that neighborhood so that they can have pristine white suburbs. So really, the black crime problem is a problem of the inherent violence in America, where in America, big guns and strong militaries are a religion. If you have a country that pumps money to kill people in Israel, if you have a country where we pump our fists and say, yeah, we're going to kill Russia, we're going to kill China, it's inevitable that you'll have bad cities. It's just that it's being displaced to black cities. But if you look, white people come a couple of weeks ago, or 2 or 5 days ago. Remember that white girl that shot a bunch of people in a church, in a religious school? You heard about it? Mass shootings. So whites do mass shooting. So there's a bigger problem of inherent violence in America. And I think so, and you're right, the solution to Chicago and all these places is public spending, but there has to be a value system change in this country. Because in this country, the average American male owns guns. There are 300 million guns in America. How many are there in Nigeria? Nowhere near that many. Do you get my point? There are 300 million guns amongst civilians. America is overarmed. All right, so